Hi, and welcome to another installment of 5 Minutes with Mark. We're going to continue with chapter 1, verses 21 through 28. They went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, Jesus entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. Just then there was in the synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed and kept asking one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. Again, as with a lot of the verses that we've encountered and will encounter, there's a whole lot of stuff packed into this short section with about 8 verses. I think the first thing I noticed was at the end. And what struck me about that, at once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. As soon as Jesus performs his first miracle or his first sign, whatever you want to call it, they're going to start telling the story about this one who the demon calls the Holy One of God. And I think that's really important because when you think about what it means in light of being a Christian, the way that the story is spread is most often by the spoken word. When we speak, people hear. And you can get to more people when you speak. And so really, this is a good reminder for us as Christians, but it's another way of looking at it, the fact that as people speak about Jesus, his fame spreads. And this whole idea of authority, way back a lot of years ago, I graduated from college with a degree in education. And you can teach in many different ways. You can be creative, you can be engaging, you can be outgoing, or you can just read the book. And that's what this as one having authority is all about. The scribes were the professional teachers, but basically they read out of the book. They didn't do a whole lot, they didn't talk, they didn't interpret, they didn't try to draw out of their listeners what their listeners saw. And so that's why when they talk about Jesus, they talk about him as one with authority. Because again, he engaged the people that he was talking to and the people that he was with. That's the authority. And finally, and we're going to see this again a number of times in the Gospel of Mark, there's that command, be silent, or that command, don't tell anybody about what you've seen. It happens when they're coming off the mountain at the transfiguration. But in this case, it happens with the unclean spirit. The unclean spirit knows him and calls him the Holy One of God. And if you read throughout the entire Gospel of Mark, there's references from unclean spirits to the Holy One of God, but there's only one human being who calls Jesus the Holy One or the Son of God. And that's a centurion at the temple as Jesus breathes his last. The disciples don't even call him the Holy One of God, they call him the Messiah. And so as we kind of go from the baptism, as we kind of move out, as we see that struggle between the powers of good God and evil, the demons, the unclean spirits, we know that the demons, the unclean spirits, they know who this Jesus is. And I think in their question, have you come to destroy us? They're acknowledging what we believe as Lutherans, that in holy baptism, Jesus defeats the powers of sin, death, and the devil. They're acknowledging, maybe they were the first Lutherans, but they're acknowledging that Jesus has power to change people and change the world. Have a good day, and we'll see you another time.